Will September be a huge month for the crypto markets, as well as the risk on as markets as well, which includes the stock markets, right? We have a very possible still Fed rate cut that is coming in September. If we actually do get a rate cut right now in September, that could fuel this bull market, as we have seen back in 2021 when money was cheaper, and of course back in 2010s. So some things to be very much paying attention to right now, especially because we have a monthly candle close coming for Bitcoin in just 8 hours. And Bitcoin, of course, is the most important crypto right now, still, as I've been talking about, because it is still the driver of this market, whether you like it or not. I don't like it, right? Because it still drives, it still basically has a huge impact on the altcoins. But I just gotta play with what I'm dealt, right? I still am long on Bitcoin. I am still long on quite a bit of altcoins across the board. So my opinion on this market is bullish. Um, but of course, these are just my opinions. We're gonna take a look into a few altcoin setups. I got a few altcoin setups for you guys later in this video, which will include GFAL, Games for a Living, which is a request made by one of my viewers. Also, going to be taking a look into API3, as well as what is the next one? I always forget the third one, which is going to be Memecoin, MEMEUSDT or USD. Let's take a look into some major economics news first before diving into the charts. I highly recommend that you guys don't skip through, because I never trade altcoins without a clear understanding of Bitcoin. If Bitcoin dumps, that is going to be very bad for the altcoins. So you want to be rooting for Bitcoin, even though it is boring. It's not as interesting as the other altcoins. Let's take a look into some major economics news and crypto news first before diving into the charts. Our first piece here is by Crypto Potato. Bitcoin price analysis. Is Bitcoin set to break down below 100K? It could wick down to 100K or slightly below, but I think we still have a higher chance that this is going up from here. I will point out to you guys why I think that is, because we still have quite a bit of major support levels between the price action now and 100K. So that's why I think going below 100K is not as likely. I'm not saying it's 100% impossible, because nothing in this market is 100%. It is all about probabilities given the data that I'm seeing right now. Let's take a look into the next piece here. But also by Crypto Potato, these alts defy weekly market-wide crash as Bitcoin tests 109K weekend watch. So, even though this headline sounds bullish, I just want to give you guys my personal observations, because even if Bitcoin crashes, some of these altcoins could be lagging behind. As I have seen, I think one major example would be back in November 2021, as well as May 2021, where Bitcoin crashes first and then altcoins crash. I'm not saying that I think the altcoins are more likely to crash right now, but I'm just saying from a personal observation that could also happen. So something to just be aware of. Okay. All right, next piece here is by B in Crypto. Bitcoin price analysis reviews market bottom cues, but 113.5K remains the key test. I do see some bottom cues on the daily time frame. Okay, I mentioned possible bullish divergence. We're gonna revisit the charts there. I mentioned possible bullish divergence that could play out a couple of days ago, and there's still a falling wedge on the daily time frame. So some of these are bullish signals. Let's see if they play out, right? Because we do have some mixed signals on a higher time frame, and the higher time frame usually trumps the lower time frames. Our next piece here is by Cointelegraph. Skepticism will dog Bitcoin even at a $10 million price, says analyst. Yes. If you guys been around this crypto game for quite some time, I've been around since 2019, and skepticism has always surrounded Bitcoin. When it was $5,000 back then, even up to right now, there's always going to be skepticism. Okay, everywhere. Okay, I guess skepticism for Bitcoin, in in physical, when I'm talking to people in person. Okay, so it's always going to be there. It's always going to be there. Just like there's skepticism about gold, right? Let's take a look into ZY Crypto. $5 million Bitcoin whale bets big on Ether upside, selling another $1.1 billion of Bitcoin to buy Ethereum. Now, this is definitely bullish for the crypto markets as a whole, because I am seeing Ethereum trying to break out of its all-time highs, trying to follow Bitcoin's lead, because Bitcoin has been making all-time highs. Up to 124K. And Ethereum and the altcoins are trying to follow. Okay, that is usually what happens, right? When Bitcoin breaks above its all-time highs, trying to start its bull cycle, and then Ethereum and altcoins try to follow. That is definitely bullish for the crypto markets if that happens. Of course, let's see if if Bitcoin can actually hold above some of these key levels. Now, very important to be paying attention to Bitcoin right now because the weekly candle close and the monthly candle closes in about 8 hours. I've been talking about this weekly chart here, which is a cup and handle pattern, right? That has been my focus for quite some time. The resistance is going to be about that 110K level. If we get a weekly candle close back below this 110K level, then on this weekly time frame, it's not going to be looking good, because we're breaking back into that support level that was once resistance, and we're losing it. However, there's quite a bit of support below the price action right now, including the weekly 21 SMA, which is at about 107K. Okay, that's going to be coming up to the price action. Let's take a look into daily time frame. I also want to mention the monthly time frame as well, but that's going to be let me talk about some of these moving averages first. Daily time frame, daily 200 SMA, the orange line here at about 101. Okay, 3-day time frame, which is the 3-day 50 SMA. It's going to be about 106K. So quite a bit of these moving averages as support. Okay, for Bitcoin. Now, the monthly time frame is going to look a little bit more bullish, in my opinion, because let's take a look here. Okay, this is why I think more likely than not that the bull cycle is still on, even if we lose that 110K level on the weekly time frame. Okay, so this is the monthly time frame. A few things I can say about this chart here. On the monthly time frame RSI, okay, monthly RSI here, we still have nowhere reached that those FOMO levels, like I have seen back in the 2021 bull cycle and 2017 bull cycle. Do we have to play out exactly like that? No. But is there anything telling me otherwise right now? Also, no. So that is one thing that I still see Bitcoin as being bullish, because we haven't reached the peak yet. Now, if we actually come to the price action chart here, we can actually see that from July's monthly candle basically pumped from 105K to about 123K. That was back in July. Okay. We still have not yet retraced that entire monthly candle from back in July yet. So quite a bit of support here at about 107K. Okay. And of course that little wick down to 105K. So in my opinion, that still looks bullish to me because August has not completely retraced July. There was bearish divergence on the monthly time frame. I've been mentioning this, and I've been mentioning that this could be invalidated, right, based on previous major breakouts, like back in December 2020 and October 2017. However, it doesn't look like we're going to invalidate it this time, but bearish divergence could maybe have played out in August, and if the bulls were actually to pump in September, right, it just needs to get over this monthly RSI reading of 73 now to invalidate that bearish divergence. If you guys know RSI, you guys would know what I mean. If you guys don't and want to know more, you guys can comment in the comment section. I will answer you. All right, so that's basically what I'm seeing here for Bitcoin. I am still more bullish for this market. I will tell you guys when I change my opinion, but I think this market is still more likely to be bullish, right? Let's go ahead and go to the altcoins. Let's go ahead and go to the altcoins. We're going to take a look into Memecoin first, which is MEMEUSDT, and see what has gone on in this market since the last time I've talked about it. I'm going to wait for a trading view to load here. All right. Weekly time frame. Was where I talked about MEMEUSDT last time, or MEMEUSD. They're going to be very similar, similar trading action. Okay. Weekly time frame. Falling wedge usually breaks to the upside. It does. Back a few weeks ago, it hasn't done too much before getting a huge surge here. Okay, this is a breakout of a huge falling wedge pattern. This is on the weekly time frame. And the price target here is going to be about 2.7 cents price targets. Now, price targets are estimates only. There could be more or less. Very much depends on the market, in particularly Bitcoin. If Bitcoin pumps, very good for the altcoins here. If Bitcoin dumps, very bad. All right, let's take a look into a smaller time frame and see what could be happening here. Daily time frame. Daily time frame. This is probably even a smaller time frame here. All right, 4-hour time frame. Falling wedge pattern. I want to mention that I had a falling wedge pattern that was smaller last time, and that got invalidated because it broke to the downside. Now, falling wedges, even though they have more of a chance of breaking to the upside, also have to mind the downside risk, okay, because they happen. It's all probabilities, okay. This one has broken out to the upside. Price target for this one would be about 0.4 cents price target. Let's see if Memecoin could get there. This could look like a smaller falling wedge pattern that could have formed, but I'm not going to get into that right now. But this is the 4-hour time frame. Let's see if it gets there. Quite a bit of shorter term moving averages to get over, including the 4-hour 21 SMA at about 0.29 cents, 4-hour 50 SMA at about 0.32 cents, the white line here. All right, let's go ahead and go to API3. API3 currently trading at about $1.10. Weekly time frame. I think I talked about the weekly time frame for API3 last time. And this looks like a falling wedge. I'm going to wait for my chart to load. All right, API3, falling wedge pattern. This one looks like it's trying to break out. I have adjusted the price target. I have moved the measured move, the measurements along the upper trend line because it doesn't look like that was the actual breakout point. I'm gonna move it along the upper trend line because this pattern's still valid, even though that was just a wick above the pattern, so this is still valid. Um, Now, price target for a potential breakout here would be about $3.85. Price target, of course, estimate only. I've seen breakouts that could happen and could flop as well. That doesn't meet its price target. Just got to take into consideration of all those scenarios that could happen. Upside, downside, of course. I also seen price targets that get broken through if the market is very bullish. Very much depends on Bitcoin. Okay. Now, API3 trying to stay above the weekly 50 SMA as supports, which is currently at about $1.15 about there. Let's take a look into a smaller time frame and see what this coin could be doing. All right, probably even a smaller time frame here. 4 hour. 4 hour time frame, falling wedge pattern. Again, and this one broke to the upside. Let's see if it would do something significant. Okay. I'm gonna wait for my chart to load. Sorry, the internet is a little slow here right now. All right. Let's take a live measurement here because measuring the opening of a falling wedge pattern is how you get the measure move, and then you put it on top of a actual or estimated breakout point. In this case, actual would be price target would be just short of $1.75 here for API3. Let's see if it can meet this price target before the bigger one. Let's go ahead and go to GFAL, which is a request made by one of my viewers. If you guys have any altcoin requests, you guys can leave it in the comment section below. I will pick a request to do for you guys on a daily basis. Oh, we just saw a huge wick live right now. Let's take a look into the weekly time frame. Falling wedge pattern. Again, it's going to be a pattern you guys definitely want to learn how to chart. It's very easy. Just look at my charts and then probably get some help from your favorite AI chatbots, ChatGPT, Grok. Those will help. You connect at least 3 candles on the upper trend line, connect at least 3 candles on the bottom trend line, and get a tightening triangle. Right, and then what I'm seeing here is a breakout that has happened about 2 weeks ago. It hasn't done too much yet. Okay, it is trying to break above the weekly 50 SMA as resistance. Let's see if it could do that. And that is at about 0.78 cents. Price target for this breakout would be about 4 cents, which is huge. Okay, let's see if it gets there. Right. Let's take a look into a smaller time frame and see what this price action could be doing. Price action is trying to get support from the 4-hour 21 SMA at about 0.68 cents right now. That is coming up quickly. But I do want to mention that there is bearish divergence on the daily time frame, which usually means that there's going to be a pullback that's playing out right now. So something to be paying attention to on the RSI is these bearish divergence signals because they could usually indicate a pullback. Now, this basically wraps it up for today's video on these coins. Let me know if you guys want to continue seeing any more of these coins by dropping a like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you on the next one.